Okay, here we go. We're live.
Hi,
Welcome back.
Doc.
We have Dr. Tiff with us. I'm Dr. Cody Goldman. You guys know who we are. And now we're officially live on Instagram too. So how are you today, Doc?
I'm okay. Just ready for March Madness. I got my bracket filled out. I'm like the March Madness queen. So my mom and I have been going for like 15 years. We go to this little sports bar at like noon and we start watching all the games. So you are actually taking priority right now over
That's
my
nice.
March Madness. So
Sweet.
you should be very, very impressed with my priorities
More
here.
appreciative too. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm sports stupid. I can't say I've watched a football game or basketball game in my life. So we're opposite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I could care less about it. So we're opposite polarities. We cover both
Funny.
spectrum.
Well,
You're
I taught a sports psychology course at Belmont University one year. It's been like 15 years. And it was during the spring. And so I had a class on Thursday of March Madness. I was like, okay, this is not going to work out for me. So I created this worksheet on momentum shift and I took them to this sports bar during class and we sat and watched games and they had to
cool.
track the momentum shift in the games.
I love it. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's really
it was
cool.
really
I love
fun.
it.
It was fun.
I like it. Well, let's see. Where our topic today, and sorry, Doc was Dr. Tiff was on her own last time because I just totally was in the mountains traveling and I forgot to tell her. So the topic today is adrenal fatigue. I thought it'd be an important topic for us to talk about, and and just kind of because so many people hear about this and like, what are you supposed to do about it? And so a lot of people will notice feeling tired. A lot of people I've heard they need caffeine to function, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I know both of us really want to give people proper information because so many diagnoses that people get from the medical community are not causes. That's one of the biggest statements of the century, I think. Your diagnosis is not your cause, okay? And so even when you look at adrenal fatigue, we go, oh, that's a cause. Well, I always like to ask, and have my patients ask, but what's causing that, right?
Mhm.
So just let's look at this topic. And your adrenal glands produce cortisol and adrenaline. And what happens is chronic stress basically tends to drain them. So people have that basic understanding. But what's funny is you go to the doctor, and if we know that chronic stress is what drains your adrenal glands, how many times have someone gone to the doctor and the doctor said, hey, how about I help you manage your stress?
Mm.
Right? Never. This does not happen anymore. I mean, maybe 1% of the time, or I'd say never. Instead, I've got this fancy adrenal supplement or even adrenal medication that you can take. And then, of course, depending on how your adrenals function, we come up with fancy names that we can call it Cushing's and Addison's. And the reason that these names are created is because anything that you don't understand, anything the human mind does not understand, it either fears or worships.
Mm.
And that's why a lot of this is labeled with Latin names for certain diseases. So here's the things we're going to talk about what this actually is, and then what do we do to actually like naturally help this. So when your adrenals are burnt out, exhaustion, brain fog, energy crashes, even cravings for sugar or salt, need caffeine to function, waking up groggy, right? And of course, anxiety, right? So let's just kind of give the floor to you, Dr. Tiff, just to, just your first thoughts on this conversation.
Yeah, I think that it is, adrenal fatigue there's not really a quote unquote cure for it. And I think that's what makes it really frustrating for people and challenging to address because you can't go in and get a blood test or they can't do any kind of lab work or imaging or anything to say, oh, yes, you have adrenal fatigue. I mean, to your point, it's all just symptoms that if in correlation are all happening, we can just make this assumption that your adrenals are suppressed, dysfunctional, not optimized, whatever terms you want to use for it. It's kind of like PCOS, right? Like there's no test for PCOS. It's just you're having all these symptoms, and it lends us to believe that you probably have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I think it is a frustrating one. And I've had clients over the years that are definitely seeing suppression of adrenals. And really the only fix is the same things we've said for so many other things. It's like, you've got to watch the quality of what you're eating. You've got to recover well. You've got to hydrate. You've got to make sure you're not over stressing with exercise. You're finding your happy space of enough volume, but not too much volume, so that you can recover and that your body doesn't go into this hyper stress mode. Because I think that's when then everything gets out of whack. Like you said, you're over producing cortisol. You're not managing blood sugar levels. You're not doing the right things with the hormones at the right time. So, but it is sort of just this floating in the abyss of, I think I have adrenal fatigue, but you can't really know for sure.
Yeah. So beautiful. Let's capitalize on a few things. Number one, I don't know if people know how many glands they have in their body, but there's said to be over 200 glands in your body that we found. Right. So I want something I want to point out. Your glands do not work separately from other glands. You cannot have adrenal glands burnt out without other problems in other glands. So this is a part of why for years I've loved to really teach people about understanding their systems. One of the problems with labeling a gland is that it's completely fucking wrong. Your glands all work together. So if your adrenal glands are burnt out, you've got many other glands that are trying to function as well. So technically, it's not just a problem with one area, right? So what causes this, right? A few things you mentioned. So chronic stress, mental, physical, emotional. But I'd like to say specifically, stress is not necessarily a cause. It's what you do with the stress, because you need stress. Stress is an important. There's bad stress and good stress, but we need stress. You need stress for strong bones. So what you do with stress. And so let me just say real quick, if you experience stress in your reality and you shove it down, you will 100% burn out your adrenal system. Meaning if you haven't learned to actually let emotions pass through you. Now that's a very advanced topic that we probably can talk about at some point. So chronically storing emotions inside you is what I want to say versus chronic stress.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, good. Secondly, you mentioned this poor diet. So this is I mean, how many times have we said this on these calls? Too much sugar and processed food. It's like
a broken record, but it does. I mean, if you Googled, and I don't suggest you Google to diagnose yourself, but if you Googled like, how do you repair a slow metabolism? If you Googled dealing with the symptoms of menopause, if you Googled managing adrenal fatigue, if you Googled losing stubborn belly fat, all of it is going to say the same four things, right? It's going to say minimize processed, refined, high fat, high calorie foods, fried, pre-cooked, all the things. It's going to say make sure you're getting strength training and cardiovascular exercise. It's going to say make sure you're sleeping well, make sure you're managing your stress. So, I mean, it isn't simple. I hate to say it's simple because it's not simple to do those things. But the recommendations are simple. It's just the execution of it that is hard for people.
Agreed. And I think we could do I actually was considering doing this, but we could do a whole series on sugar and processed foods. But like, my God, they're not. I just literally read this study yesterday that in 45 minutes, this is why, and I had never known this, but in 45 minutes of eating sugar, your immune system is depressed at 45% of its normal. Like in 45 minutes, I was like, that's really wild. So we'll do a whole topic on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what else? The other causes of this adrenal insufficiency or fatigue: overusing caffeine and energy drinks. I can't say this enough. I call bullshit on people liking their coffee. Now, this is going to stir a lot of people up. I have so many patients go, Dr. Goldman, I love my coffee. And then they go, oh, you do? Do you put cream or sugar in it? Yeah, you've got to drink it like that. So then my question is, if you love coffee, why are you putting cream and sugar in it? Because you
I
don't love the taste of it. It tastes terrible. Now I
love
got a lot of
I love my coffee concoction.
it's the
That's what they're
exactly
saying.
right. So yeah, for most people, the first cup of coffee tasted terrible. That truly, and then they had to work themselves into it. So what I find is that coffee will stimulate a artificial circadian rhythm. And so every time you drink coffee, it's like, imagine if the sun came up. Every time I drink coffee, you're, oh, I'm awake. Oh, I'm
Mm,
awake. Right? It would just screw your system up. So also the stimulants, we don't have to go in detail, but the stimulants, meaning the energy drinks, are I would say 100 times worse than the coffee because of
well,
all
it's
the crap that's
volume
inside.
of well,
Yeah.
it's what it's in it, but also how much caffeine at one time. And
Yeah.
I'm really, I am really passionate about educating the young kids on these. I mean,
Mm.
it's really concerning me because now in Nashville, I don't know about Colorado where you are, but we're getting these pop-up little nutrition shops that I believe have a supplement line behind them. They're making the shakes and the teas, loaded teas and all these things. Well, they open at 7 a.m. and I see lines of high school kids getting these loaded teas at 7 in the morning,
Mm.
and they have 200 plus milligrams of caffeine in them.
Wow. Wow.
And which is this equivalent to one of the canned
Yeah.
energy drinks, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like these kids are getting acclimated to needing this caffeine first thing in the morning in that volume, and like just down the road trying to come off of that
Yeah.
is really concerning me. And that parents, I don't think, maybe don't understand, but they also may not even know. I mean, these kids are driving themselves. I don't think parents are necessarily dropping them off to get it. So, but it's like, how do you stop this from happening? I almost feel like you should have to give an idea for these things.
True. Very good point. That's a really good point. One of the most recent energy drinks, I can't remember the guy, he's a big YouTuber, Logan Paul. He had
Mm.
an energy drink he was pushing, and there's a big lawsuit now because it was quite toxic and at the point of cancerous because of how much crap was inside it. So yeah, and he sold millions of those things
Yeah,
because it was a
before
very
that.
popular fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've shifted more to the hydration drinks now, that same brand, which,
Yes.
will have their
Yeah,
own things. And
exactly.
again, I'm a realist. Like, I'm not saying that I'll never drink one or I've never had one. I'm not saying I'm not going to drink a cup of coffee on a road trip when I need to stay awake. I'm not saying you can't ever eat a processed protein bar, but I just think we need to be really mindful of when these kids are doing it before sports events. They're spiking their heart rate when it's
For
already
sure.
spiking. I know we're getting a little off topic, but I
Yep.
think, yeah, just the energy
Exactly.
drink thing it's a big issue, I think, down the
Yep.
road.
And
Mhm.
thank Majestic. He said, thanks for this topic. You're welcome. He said, I'd take myself off the energy supplements and was getting panic attacks. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Thanks for commenting on that. So the next thing would be lack of quality sleep. I got to say this, that so many people are spending a lot of money on peptides. Totally fine. Do what you need to do. But I'm going to tell you, you want to have the most incredible anti-aging hack. Sleep. Get good sleep.
Mm.
I mean, this is, to me, it's funny. It's even become a hack is get good sleep. It's just so many people are out doing peptides
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
go to bed on time. Just go to bed on time, right? So lack of quality sleep will absolutely burn your system out on so many levels, on so many levels. Not just with burning out your adrenal glands, but you'll burn out. I mean, you'll literally gain fat. Your body cannot repair itself. Vital organ tissue repair cannot happen without quality sleep. So that's a big one.
Mm.
That's a huge one.
Yeah,
Um,
well, and I think that unfortunately we are working all night till we go to bed in front of this thing, and we are not down regulating, and we don't realize it's disrupting sleep. I think, you just assuming it's other things, it's ruminating thoughts, it's stress from work, it's kids stuff, but I do think at some level it's like having a nice bedtime rhythm where you can actually spend some time like coming down off the day and decompressing, and not with alcohol and not with these kinds of things, but finding good healthy ways to create an ability for your body to go into that lower stress mode
Yep.
where you're coming down off of the day, because it's hard. And I think we all battle that, but I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. This one, that's one that I rarely violate, is my sleep, because I've seen what happens to me. This one, I think I've violated more than any of them. Over exercising.
Mm-hmm.
Too much high intensity training. You can probably talk about this, Tiff, and not enough recovery.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, I've done it where I've done a workout, and then I've done mountain biking, and then I go do yoga, and I'm just and you just really burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Your system's trying to give you enough hormones to do this, but not listening to when you need to recover is probably what I would say this is.
Well, and I was just talking about this with a client the other day, because we talk about the spectrum, right? And you having your background in training as well, like, okay, on this side of the spectrum is minimum effective dose. What is the minimum amount I can do where I'm doing enough to create adaptation and stimulus where I'm actually getting something out of it, right? Like, there's a minimum you got to do, or it's like not really doing anything for your cardiovascular health, for your muscle strength, etc. No breakdown is happening. And then on this side is maximum recoverable volume. How much is the most I can handle and effectively recover from? And you have to know those two bookends for yourself, because if you're not training hard enough, you're getting nothing out of it, and you're wasting your time and money and energy. And if you're doing too much and you can't recover effectively, then you're going to see the adrenals, then you're going to see the breakdown of muscle, right? So there's these two bookends in training of what's my minimum effective dose and what's my maximum recoverable volume. And those are two thresholds that you need to know for yourself.
Ooh, nice. Well said. I love that. I like the bookend concept. That really is very effective. I don't think I've ever thought of it like that. Yes, because for some of us, for some people, maybe it's this end of the book, the bookend where they haven't done enough.
Mm-hmm.
And for others like me, I'm like, I've done too much, and I've literally watched when I backed off from so much exercising that my muscles would literally build faster. I was like, that's really that's an important piece. I love how you said that. We could probably do a whole topic on that one.
For sure. Because how to find it, I don't want to go into that today. But the next question is, well, how do I know? But that's something we should touch on.
I think if you one of these topics, if you feel like you want to jump in and make that our topic, because I love that. Okay, here's the last one that I have is what a root cause behind this would be blood sugar crashes. And I'm going to point that directly towards, this is something that I'm very passionate about that I haven't heard many people talking about. But it's called chrononutrition. Eating on time and eating enough and eating the right things. So when people skip meals, I've got we utilize fasting in our program, but we utilize it correctly. I want to make a bold statement and say that I'd say 80% of people that I meet are fasting incorrectly. Skipping your meals is going to cause more problems than it is helping you. Okay. So you'll get blood sugar crashes. And so blood sugar crashes can actually lead to adrenal fatigue and, of course, the glandular system in general. And so the other piece of it is eating too many carbs alone. And man, if you look at our meals, oh my gosh, like I know, right? Like, go to anywhere. Listen, I'm not talking about, we don't even need to bring up Burger King and McDonald's. Everyone kind of knows that, but just go to a restaurant. What's the first thing you're brought when you order a meal?
Chips or bread or whatever fried appetizer you're choosing or whatever.
Exactly. Chips, and bread,
drinks. Like if it's a soda or a glass of wine or so you're putting liquid calories in, you're putting lots of highly palatable, high calorie foods. I mean, I would even urge against getting a starter salad, because most of the time it's very calorie empty, right? It's calories, but there's not a lot of nutritional value there. It's like iceberg lettuce, cheese, bacon, croutons, and dressing. Like, what are you getting from that? And it's just 300 calories out of the gate that's eating into the benefit of your main meal, in my opinion.
Yes. Love what you said there. That is something that I also advise. So many people that have come to me and they're tired, they're fatigued, they have extra 20, 30 pounds, they can't get it off. So many of them are eating salads regularly. And it's one of the first things I tell them to get rid of, because you're not getting calories. You're giving your brain, you're tricking your brain into thinking you're getting food. So I love that one. That's really big. Like you said, so they come out with the bread. Hey, can I get you guys any drinks? So then we get the bread, simple carbohydrates, and then we have alcohol, sugar. So this is a perfect definition of why you would end up having adrenal fatigue. So we get the bread, then we get the alcohol. And then I've wondered, and I think I might have mentioned this to you, Tiff, but like I also wondered, why do they bring bread out? Because I always thought, why would they want you to get full before you order? Right? And there's a reason why. They literally did research. They've researched, if you eat simple carbohydrates or sugar before you order, you statistically order more food because your dopamine has spiked. You're going, I'm fairly good. Let's do something like, let's get
I figured it was the wine that was doing that.
Isn't it interesting? You can do it just bread. They didn't do, they might have done research on alcohol. This was just bread, right? Now, that confused me too, because I thought, well, doesn't that make sense? Well, how with desserts, they want people to order dessert. Statistically, check this out. If you order bread or you eat the bread, they don't have to even order, they just bring it out. If you eat the bread before a meal, you have a higher percentage of chance of ordering dessert at the end. Because you have the dopamine spike, and by the time you eat your meal, your dopamine comes back down. You're feeling a little heavy, a little lethargic. So it's time to get another dopamine spike. You're an addict. They're making you addicts.
Interesting. So I'm never. I'd be curious to read that study.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And I think, it does come down to the timing of things. To your point, this, whatever the term was you used, but I call it metabolic positioning, right? Where you've got to position your metabolism to get into fat utilization, and whether that's through the time between meals, whether that's through depletion through exercise, whether that's through how many calories you're eating in a sitting so that you're not overshooting what your body can handle. But you've got to position your body with timing and spacing and combinations of macronutrients so that you give it a chance to not just use the food you're putting in. That's the whole goal, right? If you're constantly just burning what you're eating, you're not going to get into stored energy, which is the fat burning, which for most of us are looking for. Some aren't, but most people are wanting to burn that, right?
Yeah, beautifully said. And I want to say to people watching this, I know Dr. Tiff and I, neither of us, I know we are not speaking from our high horse, meaning we have, I think, screwed up all of these things. I mean, I know I have. Sure. How easy is it? They got fresh bread and butter in front of you. How hard is that to go, okay, I'm not going to eat that, and I'm going to have my, right? So I'll tell you, one of my processes is, this is how I'm able to influence myself. I use the pain and pleasure principle. So I will actually future cast. I actually will, in my mind, eat 2 rolls of the freaking bread, and then I future cast 5, 10, 15 minutes later how I feel.
That's a good idea.
I feel terrible. And therefore, so this is the interesting piece of this is either you decide with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And when I actually future cast, I literally will do that in the moment. No one knows I'm doing it, but I will future cast and go, oh my God, I'd rather this pain right now of not having it than the pain of how that feels by having it. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I've had similarly, not in that specific case, but somebody that struggles with IBS or lactose intolerance, and they're like, I really want this ice cream.
Yes.
But if I eat this ice cream, I'm going to be miserable later. And, I've even had to say, sometimes I just do it because I'm like, I really want it. And it's worth being in the bathroom later tonight.
Yes.
But you got to delay gratification and play it all the way out. Like what is my goal here? And how do I look at the consequences potentially?
I love it. Beautiful. Great additions. And we're right at the hour. This is perfect timing.
Nice. Perfect.
Go by too fast, Doc. I'll see you on the next one.
I know. We can talk for hours. So, all right. Enjoy the rest of your day. And you better fill a bracket out. I'm going to come to Colorado and get you on the band.
I know. I don't even know what a bracket is. So sorry to say that. See you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.